Lift and shift sounds great on paper, sounds great when people talk about it. When you get into reality, we started looking at the system and how it was functioning currently, and it was broken.
Shall we start with Corteva?
What do you want to know?
What? How long have you been there?
I've been at Corteva now for, will be 5 years in a month.
5 years, so 4 years and 11 months.
Yep.
What? So how's that department changed over the last 5 years?
Wow, massively. Starting from so when I came in, we were still part of Dow DuPont.
Okay, yeah.
As we were preparing to spin off, and we came in October. In April, the deadline would be to spin Dow off, which was a heavy part of our
business, right? Yeah.
So by the time we selected new tools to put in place, it was January. So we had a 3-month window to put everything in place.
Do you think?
Did it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work.
Do you think that helped, or was it challenges? Because obviously if you have a drop-down deadline, then everything has to be so focused, right?
Yeah, it was very focused. If we'd had longer, it would have been great. But, what we did is we segmented the business portions, for what do we need first? Matter management, A billing. We went after the system that tied to what Dow did first.
Okay.
Instead of doing it holistically, we had to
well,
focus.
they've got that, we'll have it.
Yeah, we have to focus this, and we couldn't use the same systems, which was the challenge. The same systems were out of date, and we couldn't bring them over.
They didn't exist anymore, right?
We had to bring new systems in. A lot of Dow DuPont were probably going a different direction. We changed our direction with one system, and that focus for the first part was really, everybody loves to talk lift and shift.
I love lift and shifting.
Lift and shift sounds great on paper, sounds great when people talk about it. When you get into reality, we started looking at the system and how it was functioning currently, and it was broken.
Okay.
So the current thing was that half of all invoices that were going through the process were not going all the way into the financial system and were failing.
Oh, so they weren't getting paid?
No. So there was a person manually fixing them that was on the Dow side that was leaving with the shift. So we can't lift and shift because we don't have somebody that's going to sit around all day and fix invoices. So we had to actually get in and figure out what all the problems were and fix them before we rolled it out. Okay. So that was challenged. I mean, back then it was me. When I started, it was just me. I added a resource very quickly as a consultant.
Yeah.
There was somebody I'd worked with in the past. There was a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, had worked with legal at my old company, but had never been into this far. So she came, helped out on the challenge. We literally sat in conference rooms with Post-its on all the walls of all the things we had to do, because the shift of every day, the priority shifted. You have to change what you have to do every day. So we had to map them all out and figure out, okay, when we get things done, we can move them to this side of the wall. But just constant, continuous work.
Do you think hiring someone who didn't have that legal bias helped that process?
In that one, yes. She knew legal enough, but had a lot of IT background. Came out of the IT world, knew how to do process implementations and systems. So I gained somebody that knew that background, that could push the envelope and ask the right questions, and not hear from somebody in finance or IT that would say, oh, we can't do that. No, why? That's not a legit answer. So we really just pushed as hard as we could and as fast, but
nice. Was there budget constraint, or were they just you need to sort this, go do it?
Then I don't know there was so much as the budget constraint as it just has to be done. Here's the deadline. We can't miss it. Dow spins on April 1st. DuPont spins on June 1st.
These are your dates.
Boom, boom. We didn't get any relaxation between them.
Yeah. And so obviously that was 4 years ago, 11 months.
Yeah.
And then
where are we now?
So where are we now with it?
So now we're in a whole completely different dimension. Now there's about 8 people involved in legal ops. Some of those are contractors. we've hired a great team that is in our global service center in Hyderabad, India.
Yeah.
Phenomenal resources. Some of those are with finance backgrounds. Some of those are with legal backgrounds. We've kind of mixed the team up to be a bit dynamic. And we've been working tremendously with our IT department. So we built a hybrid. Our IT team's different than anywhere else I've worked. Like, they were willing to flex. So our business relationship with them is really good. And in that when they hire a resource, we talk about that resource can't be just, I only do these kind of things.
This is my domain.
This is my only domain. And we say the same thing on our team. Like, we can flex into things they would normally do, and they flex into things we would do.
Gotcha.
Because together we have to keep the legal team and the function moving.
Yeah. And have you had like new like titles come into that? So have you kind of got into the world of like data science and all those kind of things yet, or not quite?
A little bit. Like, we're doing all those things. So
but it just wasn't labeled, right?
Yeah, we didn't label those things. Even when I got back into, let's say, legal ops, I got in there 8-10 years ago. It wasn't called legal ops back then. It was just somebody on the legal team that helps with these things.
Yeah. Legal bit. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like a BA or something. Right.
Now, like, we run all the financials. So for us, we use a system, but it's beyond that. It's some things go through our financial systems direct or come from the other parts of the business in. How do you get that to a picture where the legal team and the attorneys can actually look at a document and understand, am I on budget or not?
Mm-hmm. Like, am I in trouble?
Yeah, when we first started, we had 3 different financial systems. So those 3 systems, they would get a report once a month. And I would stare at it, because when they gave it to me, I'm like, I have no idea how you know whether you're on target or not. Like, this is terrible. Like, it just has numbers and code. Like, I don't even know what these go to. So we spent a lot of time putting that just in Excel at first. Like, here's a view. What do you think of this? Does this work? And they liked that a lot. We've kept that for almost a year, tweaking it. And then recently, our one guy, Sampath, in our Hyderabad center, he self-taught himself Power BI.
Beautiful.
Right? So that we could take the data and just pull it all together and put it in a pretty
visualize
picture
it, right?
For the legal team to look at it and go, wow, I can see it. I can click on a button and drill down. So all the data, you had to have the systems, the foundation, before you could ever get to this level. So that was the key, was to put the right ones in.
Nice. And this is a question I've asked quite a lot this week, and it seems to be a bit of a theme, is like, how does like Corteva think about like enterprise foundational systems like Salesforce, ServiceNow? Are they coming more into your domain within legal?
That's a tough one. Yes and no. Okay. So I think we look at them.
Yeah.
We talk about whether
over
we
there,
can use
right?
them. I'll give you like some examples. I don't mean to pick on this. Like, ServiceNow is really good in what it does for IT.
For sure.
Great ticketing system for them. They've used it some in HR. Yeah, do they think they're going to ask us? They might, but we're way beyond that already. We've already built out the entire workflow process and how to do it. To change it to a system that doesn't handle the legal matters and stuff, it's not going to be a good idea.
No, it is interesting, isn't it? Because again, you're seeing like tools being built on Salesforce for legal now as well. And kind of makes sense, I think. But again, it depends on how that business thinks around standardization. But it seems like you've got your stuff sorted, right?
I think we're a little ahead of where the rest of the business is going. We were moving awful fast to do it. So when I look back, though, and see, are there applications they have that we could use? We do if we can. Like, if they're going to be helpful, we can use them. But if the data is already sitting in one of our tools and it's easier to build it from there, we're probably going that direction.
And where do you think, where is your future? Like, kind of whisper AI.
AI. It's all AI.
So like LLMs, like how are you, because obviously Corteva must generate an awful lot of data. So how are you guys thinking about large language models, AI, and all that kind of stuff?
So, the fun part, and I'm going to tell you this, because when we say AI, I always have to pause when I'm at Corteva, because there's already an established use of the word AI.
Oh, for something else.
And it's active ingredient. So for an agricultural science company, that is big on their thing. So it's funny now, because I hear everybody using AI, and I have to think for a
your
second.
brain goes like that,
Are you
right?
thinking that one or this one?
Which one are you thinking? Yeah.
But it's like, getting after our data and being able to see it, like, I'll use a great example of a contract lifecycle management. So we are putting one in, but in the old days, your thoughts were, I have to extract every single field that I ever want to report on.
Manually, right?
AI's changing that. Like, it will change that. It's getting there, but do you even need fields? Is the question now. It reads the data and responds in lightning speeds, but do you need all that metadata any longer? Like, can it just build the metadata? Those kind of questions are what we have to ask. Some of them you probably do need metadata for some of them, but some of them you probably don't.
Contract's an interesting one, right? I think also how it can leverage like a huge data set and give you like decisions, right? So is that how, because like Moray, for example, we have like steering committee around artificial intelligence, not active ingredient. Like, do you guys have the same sort of stuff? Like, you have a committee that are like talking about it and telling you, don't put any IP in it because we'll lose it, sort of thing, right?
We do. We've got a unique situation. So we have chief technology officer.
Oh, do you?
And we have a chief information officer.
Okay, so you got all the chiefs.
One is IT.
Yeah.
And one is really R&D.
Yeah.
How are we building our technology of the future?
Yep.
I think they're really focused on how could we use AI inside of our world. So we are working with, there's the digital team that is really tied in with the R&D team. There's the IT team.
Yeah.
And they've got a dedicated resource. And then really it's legals doing the other piece. So we've already invested some into the AI space. So the three of us are really talking now and trying to build out what is the future platform and how can we help each other? And I mean, right now we've built a lot of chatbots.
Love a chatbot.
We like our chatbots. I'm total skeptic. The first time we ever did a chatbot, I was like, this is never going to work. IT said they'll pay for it.
So we'll do it.
If you're offering it, I will give it a wholehearted chance.
I'll give it all my love, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We did it. We were like, we're going to get these people to go into a chatbot.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. I eat all my words.
There you go. It's the same as like...
It works.
When we used to go, certainly in the UK, when you used to go to the cinema and you just have to call a phone number and be like, I want to see Top Gun. And they'd be like, great, 2 tickets to Barbie. And they'd be like, no, it's not what I said. That's kind of why I assume chatbot started, right? Is that you say something and then it basically takes so long to get the actual answer, whereas now it's like, boom, right?
Yep. And the first ones we built are really... They're not the GPT technology yet.
Sure.
They were the menu driven. Here's like the most frequently asked questions you ask on this subject.
Gotcha. Like an FAQ, right?
Yeah, more of the FAQ, but it gives them the answer, and or it tells them how to get it, or we build it so it can go into some of our systems and answer questions. Mm-hmm. So that's super helpful for them. But we also did the thing of, look, if you go out and use the chatbot, and you don't get your answer, it comes to us. But if you go to the chatbot first, instead of just emailing us, we will take your questions in priority.
Okay, so it's
like... You've already tried to answer your own question.
So you're trying to like improve that learning, right? So like people process, habit change.
Yeah, like when I looked at, we were getting more than 100 emails a week, probably almost a day at sometimes, but those went in half after we did the chatbot, because we were getting a lot of repetitive, the same question all the time over and over. I don't expect those people to remember every single system and where to get the answer. It wasn't easy for them. Like, they only do it once in a while. So why would they remember every single nuance of how to use the system?
It's important though, right? Because like I speak to a lot of legal operations, GCs around like intake. And a lot of times people are like, we don't want an intake process because we don't want to remove the fluffiness, right, and the relationship. But like the thing, and you guys obviously understood that as well early on, is that the business actually only cares about speed of response, like when you boil it down. So you saying that, hey, if you try, we will take priority over you rather than the person that went to help me at Corteva.com, right?
Well, now we're looking at like, how do you give them self-service? Yep. So not only will they get it faster and quicker, then
they get the answer like that.
Get the answer in 2 seconds instead of it's got to email to somebody. Somebody's got to read the email, talk to somebody, pull up the documents, then figure out how to recraft the right email back, and then send it back. Like that, you're wasting days for where something could be in seconds.
How are you guys thinking about CLM then? Did you guys have one before? Or, like, must have had some in. Did you not?
I would say we don't. Like, we might have pieces and parts of CLMs, but we did not have a system across.
Okay. The system of record.
Yeah.
System. Okay.
I mean, we focused a lot on records management, put all final agreements, or we're attempting to get all final agreements, whether the business gives them to them or not, it's a whole other ballgame, into like a document management system. So that was the first stage. But now we're really going to how do we build it so that it's the self-service, or it's the automatic, or it's the review, artificial intelligence doing a portion of the review that maybe never has to hit legal because it's followed some guidelines, or giving the procurement teams and our research teams the tools to change the clauses themselves.
Okay. Give them parameters where they can do the change, right?
Here's the change. Here's your drop-down options if you can't agree on these terms, so that you don't have to wait for a smaller team to try to do all this work to respond back to you. You can get it done quicker. So we're in the midst of that. We're doing with R&D. We're going to start the pilot now with procurement to switch out too.
Deep breaths, right?
Oh yeah, it takes lots of deep breaths.
But and I assume like the first part of the call is when you're talking about self-service is give the businesses the ability to self-serve on NDAs, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, which seems like the easiest agreement in the world, but when you look,
it's actually not.
It's
right?
not. Well, you have to look across the entire globe, and we do all
the jurisdictions, right?
We came from three different businesses. You know, we spun off from a business, but we brought in Heritage Dow, Heritage DuPont, and another company, Pioneer, that never really fully merged in. So everybody has everything different. Every clause is different. Everybody's got 50 different versions of that clause. So just building that, again, back to the word foundation, we were building the foundation because until you build that NDA, a lot of those clauses end up in a whole bunch of other agreements. So how do we get everybody aligned and as close as we can to a global agreement? You're never going to get perfect on global. You're going to have certain terms that really do work across the board. And then you're going to have regionalization. Like Europe doesn't like some of the terms that the U.S. puts in agreements because it's already in their laws and they don't need it.
It's like
why would we need a long agreement?
Yeah. That makes sense. Like, because when I was on it, like the cons, and and this is the balance, right? Like, I think sometimes like on our side of the fence, like selling stuff, like we're like, NDA is easy. It's the first thing you should automate. But then like we went through this RFP process and they gave us all of the logic around an NDA, and it was like the size of War and Peace just to do an NDA. And we were like, oh, what?
Yeah, it is. When it's harder than you think to move it. It's what seems like the most simple thing to do is an NDA. And I know even our GC probably would say to me, why is it taking so long to do them?
It's an NDA, right?
It's an NDA. But it's the system behind it, how it runs it, how all the different terms and options work. Who can make those decisions? What's the risk level? There's so much dynamic, but when you're building it for that, you're building it for everything else you're going to build after it. So you're really tracking and testing everything you're going to do to make sure it's going to work. Because if you can do it for this one, you're making it much easier for the path down.
What's been your main takeaway so far about the conference?
Do you think this conference?
Yeah.
Seeing what other people are doing. Like some of them are really doing things a little more unique than I would have expected, or the differences. Like legal operations to me has never been super well defined. It's kind of
go do this.
Every company, it's a little different.
Yeah, of course.
Like we'll do the financials. We'll handle the technology. Some groups handle the HR issues. Like who are we hiring? Why are we hiring them? They're doing that part. Some are even getting into regulatory or e-discovery. Like it's all varying depending on the department and how they've aligned it. For us, we reach beyond legal. So we do stuff outside of legal too. Like we're working with global and industry affairs for communications. Like there's a lot of overlaps.
Do you guys get kind of pulled into like GRC stuff and compliance and?
Sometimes.
Yeah, you're like.
Yeah, I work heavily. So I look at all of our practice areas, and so the first years, we're really focused on a foundation for the whole systems. Like, what systems are we going to use for everybody?
Yeah.
And then it was, every practice area has a need. What do any of them cross over to each other and have something in common, or are they all separate? So we build our foundations, we put our audit systems in, and we did the net documents and those
all
kind of
those things, right?
And then now we're looking at the intellectual property. It's a beast.
IP, right?
IP is a beast, and for us, it's a big beast.
It's also mission critical to Corteva, right? IP.
Yes,
it's basically what you do.
I mean, it's our future, so we're real keen on how are we going to get this
Protecting
better
that,
and easier.
Yeah, we haven't got enough time to talk about IP, but me fist bump. That's great. We appreciate you doing that.
No problem.